Hi, Alex. It's good to see you here today. As you already know, my name's Singh, and I'm your coworker here at the Skyway Inn. And I know you do have some concerns and questions about why we're increasing the prices of our hotel rooms substantially from $199 to $499. So I'm here to explain that to you today. So, of course, let's start off with the principle of supply and demand, which is actually why this is happening. So, first and foremost, what is supply and what is demand? Well, let's start with demand. Imagine you want to go to the Super Bowl or maybe a movie premiere, right? So these things are really in demand and really popular, stuff that everyone wants to go see and everyone wants to go do. But obviously, not everyone's going to be able to see it or get to do it. And that's because of a certain amount of supply. But let's talk a little bit more about demand first. Demand actually happens when there's a limited amount of stuff, but everyone wants it, like an iPhone 11. And of course, when this happens, people are willing to pay a lot more money for the same product, even though it might seem unreasonable. So, of course, this brings into connection with supply. So, as you know, at the Skyway Hotel, we only have 300 rooms. Can we poof more rooms out of nowhere? Sadly, no. And of course, this is actually why, the concept of supply and demand exists. We needed to raise our prices from $199 to $499 to actually keep up with the demand. People are going to be coming in and they're going to be wanting the rooms badly. So we need to adapt to this because if everyone can get a room for $199, then what's the point? We're not going to be able to profit as much as we would be able to if we were to raise the prices to $499. And that's why we're really doing it. So, what I want to ask you today is what if, we had another example? I'll give you a really interesting example. So in World War II, they did have shortages of metals and wood and all sorts of different supplies. So they really needed to prioritize what they needed to build over what else they needed to build. And I guess that's kind of like a obscure way to conceptualize how we're actually doing this right now. So this actually segues into another point of mine, which is the principle of competition. Now, since we are in a busy city center, we do have tons and tons of competition. There's going to be the Hilton, the Hyatt, the Marriott, the Delta. I think those are, by the same brand. The Holiday Inn, the Best Western Hotel. There's going to be a lot of those hotels, right? And of course, there's going to be competition. There's going to be us competing against them for customers, business, right? So, what I want to remind you is that you should not be afraid of competition. I embrace competition. I think competition is a wonderful thing. And let me explain why. Competition will really, push you to your limits. It would really encourage you to do better and to improve your own quality of service in order to attract these customers to your business. Say, for example, we had Hilton, who was taking our customers for a king size suite for $799 a night. Steep, right? But that's Hilton for you. So, say, for example, we at the Skyway are offering the same room with a little bit less quality for $499 or $399. If we were to increase the quality we're offering and to learn from our Hilton competitors what they're offering that we're not, we're going to be able to adapt. And with those adaptations, we can change our prices to the reasonable $499 that we're charging right now. You see where I'm going with this? While still offering the same service to the Hilton or as the Hilton. Now, what this would do is this would encourage customers to really take their business away from Hilton and put it with us. Now, this really helps us because we're actually getting the profit and the customers instead of letting the Hilton get it. Of course, this actually impacts our price and our market price, which is the price we're showing consumers. This is the price that we're putting out there, really. And this is the price that we're going to be showing people on our website or in our inquiry system, on our phone bills, on our advertisement, whatever you might consider. So, what I want to consider are the factors that would affect a market price. And the factors I have so far are going to be if there is a shortage of that specific resource, if there is a consumer shortage, or, supply and demand makes a return here. So, what is actually a shortage of the material? Like I mentioned with the World War II example, obscure, there is going to be a shortage of material for something that might not be so prevalent. So we only have 300 rooms, we can't make more poof, come in. So of course, that's going to affect us, right? That's going to affect the market price. We're going to need to raise the price in order to make sure we're accommodating for people who want it, really want it, and also making sure we're staying profitable. Now, that was, a pretty straightforward way to explain how, a specific amount of resources affects the market price. But what else we need to consider is if there's going to be a lack of consumers. Now, as you may know, we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And what this has to do is the travel industry is just not the same. we're losing a lot of good businesses, and we're losing a lot of consumers. A bunch of airlines are shutting down. The government keeps on restricting us, and most importantly, not as many people are going to use hotels. So we really need to increase our market price and to adapt our market price to make sure we're staying profitable. We don't want to go into the reds because then we're going to be, maybe have to file for bankruptcy or some other unthinkable thing that might happen to our business, which is terrible. We would lose our jobs, right? So we really need to adapt our prices in order to fit these consumer shortages and to adapt to them. And of course, bringing back supply and demand. Supply happens, demand happens, and this changes, whenever there's a event happening. So Super Bowl or a concert, music festival, you see where I'm going with this. And this really changes. And this would change our market price as well. So as you can tell, market price can be impacted by multiple things. Mostly it's going to be shortages of a specific something. It's kind of like a formula of if X amount of customers come, what is the Y value, which would be the price that you must increase in order to remain profitable? And that example, that formula really, can really be applied into our customer demand, our consumer shortage. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you today is actually going to be profit. And how do we calculate profit? Well, we need to take into the factors that affect profit first, which are mainly going to be costs. So, what exactly would our costs be? We have multiple costs, some of them big, some of them small, some of them gigantic. But I think the most important cost that we need to factor out first would be our own operational costs, because I'm pretty sure we can use those for tax deductions later on in the year. And of course, this would be stuff like our lease for our properties, or maybe our mortgage if we're owning the land. We also need to take into account utilities. What does water cost us? What does electricity cost us? What does cleaning cost us? That's going to be more of a salary. We need to take into account materials. So how much does that bedding cost? How much does the food we're using cost? How much does the soaps we have in the bathroom cost? Do we have a partnership with like Bath and Body Works? I doubt it. And the last thing we need to take into account for our, utility costs would be stuff like insurance. Insurance is a really big thing. What if there's a hurricane? What if there's a tornado? What if something unspeakable happens to our business that we can't recover from by ourselves? Insurance is usually going to be a huge part, and it's a very important part because we need to pay just in case. We need to stay insured, right? Because if we're not insured and something happens, we're going to be on it. We're going to have to be liable for it, and that might just ruin us financially, which we can't allow happen because that would just be bad for business. Now, of course, there's also going to be other costs, which are going to be your salary. So how much is your senior management cost? How much does your front desk people cost, like you and me? How much does our concierge cost? How much does if we have, what's it called? Valet services. If we have valet services, how much does the valet boy cost? It all depends, right? And of course, we need to adapt our prices and increase our profit margin by adapting them, you see, with our $4.99 price increase to these specific events. And of course, there's going to be taxes, but that's more of a corporate thing. Now, I don't think I have anything else to discuss with you. I hope you don't have any questions, but I also hope that I explained everything really well. And I just want to thank you again, Alex, for coming out here today. I really appreciate you having questions for me and coming to me for answers. So, yeah, that's all, and I'll see you at work.